It's time for some baseball nuggets with Mike Bassick.
Yeah. So, here we go.
So you're defeated,
really
and I
sad,
get why
Mike.
you're defeated. I am also irritated by this.
I loved Kirby.
Yeah.
I loved Kirby Puckett, and I loved Kirby Yates. And Kirby Yates is signed with the Dodgers. We still do not have, as far as my Twitter, I cannot find details on the contract. 1 year, 2 year.
Yeah, they're still pending physical, too.
Yeah, he's physically fine. He's a little guy who throws great. So
I think you're all of us right now, though. Not only, like, when Corey said that in crosstalk, I was like, please be with the Rangers. Please be with the Rangers.
I knew it wasn't Rangers the way he was doing it, because I would have read his body language better. But
And-
I would have never thought it was the Dodgers.
Yeah.
They just signed Tanner Scott.
For $18 million a year.
Yeah, so the Dodgers, everybody on Twitter, I was just trying to look for information on Yates' contract, which we don't have yet, but everybody on Twitter who was hoping that they would get Kirby Yates. Obviously, a lot of Ranger fans and Ranger people, but, there were a lot of teams that could have used a Kirby Yates.
Yeah.
And
Like us.
the Dodgers got the two top relievers on the market in the last, 72 hours, whatever
Good
it is.
for
So
you.
they got Tanner Scott, who I believe was rated as the 7th best reliever in all of baseball in the top 10 right now, and Kirby Yates, who was rated as the 8th, which I thought was a little bit low, but I get.
And one of them's just going to be the setup guy.
Yeah, they're going to. Well, maybe they go back and get Kenley Jansen, and he's the closer, and they're the 7th and 8th inning guys, and that's a strong possibility. By the way, I like to tell you, at this point, I do think Kenley Jansen's going to sign with the Dodgers. So I think they're going to sign the top 3 closers on the market. As far as I remember, I can't remember another great one signing before now. So
And the thing that's concerning about this, like, let's put aside just for half a second the disdain for the super team. Like, I get that. But also, the Rangers fundamentally do not have a closer. They don't.
no. Like, literally, they're going to run Chris Martin out there. And nothing against Chris Martin. He's from Arlington. He was a Texas Ranger before and was solid. He's done well after leaving the Texas Rangers. Didn't we look this up earlier, Corey? I don't have his stats. He has 1 save in his 15-year career.
Yeah, something like that. It's something wild.
So a dude who's pitched 15 years in the major leagues, who's never had that pressure on a consistent basis. And like I said, the thing is closing a game here and there isn't that big of a deal. But you're going to have a stretch where you pitch like crap in a big situation and you lose that game. And then the next day, when you're now not near 100%, you're at 85 or 90%, they give you the ball again against the same team and same hitters that might have just got you. Can you now go back and get them? And we've seen through since Joe Nathan, there has not, because I thought Kirby Yates was going to be the guy, there hasn't been a guy who's been able to be the back-to-back closer. As what I mean by is in year 2017 to year 2018, literally every human being that you can run out there, whether it's Jose Leclerc, whether it's Keone Kela, whether it's you name the dude, Sam Dyson, whoever it is, Neftali Felice, whoever it is, I don't know what it is with the Rangers, but if they did it the year before and they trust him the next year, they can't do it. Or in this case, if they did it the year before, they didn't have the financial means, I guess, to bring him back. And so now you're going to say we're going to have I do think this is the bullpen now. I don't think they're going to add another person to it. And I really like this bullpen if they had a closer. But now you're going to say,
yeah, you're going to have to trade for
and they're going to have to do this through practice.
Yeah.
How about this? Bruce Bochy at the award ceremony, he's being honest. I love Bruce. He said, I really don't know a lot about these guys. He can watch them and see what they do, and Mike Maddox is too, but they're going to go through practice games and spring training, which we see how it does get you ready for the season, but they're worthless in knowing what a guy's going to do in the season. He's going to have to take these 6 guys that they got through trades and free agency, and then he's going to have to determine through trial, and unfortunately, here's the word that's going to play out, through error.
Yeah.
Who does what well? And then how much do I have to change it on a game-to-game basis? So there's going to be a lot on Bruce Bochy's plate on how to pitch the 8 guys in the pen, most likely 6 brand new guys to the team, and go, all right, game 1, I hope the Rangers are winning by more than 3, but let's just say they're up by 1 or 2 runs in the 7th inning. It's all going to be trial and error. I'm going to give Hobie Miller the ball in the 7th inning and see how that goes. And then I'm going to give Webb the ball in the 8th inning and see how that goes.
Do you push your starters any further because you're kind of concerned about that?
I don't think so because of their injury history.
Yeah. That's like you can't
do that with DeGrom,
and
right?
You can't really wear a bullpen out because you got to figure out your bullpen still.
And I do think the bullpen, I'm not worried about the starter going deeper. Because really in today's game, they go 5 to 6 innings when they have a good start. It's just rare they go 7 or more innings. So, all right, I like all the guys they picked up. Man, I love what they can do the 5th through the 8th inning. I think Chris Young and his staff and the Rangers have done a great job of going, I think the 5th through the 8th inning, we have a lot of options, and some guys aren't going to work out, but we have enough depth that we'll figure that out. But now you're going, that depth has to now pitch the 9th inning. They added depth. They didn't add a guy who can pitch the 9th inning, and now you're going to say one of you has to do it. And probably we're going to go through 3 or 4 options this year, and that's not good. And then the thing is what I think is going to happen, like I said yesterday, and I didn't know that Yates was going to sign with the Dodgers, is if this happens and they don't get Jansen or they don't trade for an Emmanuel Clase, and I'm not saying Clase is available, I'm just throwing that out as, hey, budget-wise, he fits.
Yeah.
You're probably going to have to trade Sebastian Walcott to do it. And I'm not for that, but if you really want to go for it in the next 2 years, you need a closer. What's going to happen is they're going to get to June or July, and I hope they're in it, and I think they will be. But they're going to go, dang, man, we could have maybe a 5-game lead in this division if we would have had a closer to start the year. So now let's trade for a closer.
What's to prevent, aside from obviously the number one, lack of experience, would you give any consideration to, both have their flaws, Leiter, Teodo?
Were you listening to me talk to Sandler last night?
No. That'd be really neat.
If you do go to Jared Sandler's Twitter, he had on me and Dave Raymond, and we obviously had no clue of Yates not being here, but we were going off the assumption that he wouldn't. So we did have, and I asked him, I said, Jared, you know more about this than I do, and Dave Raymond chimed in too. I said, would you go into spring training, and Teodo there's nobody in the bullpen that they signed who has better stuff than Teodo.
Yeah.
I watched him pitch 1 inning, and I'll tell you right now, stuff-wise, can't compete.
Yeah.
Nobody they signed or traded for can compete with Teodo stuff-wise. Now, he walks a lot of people. He doesn't throw a lot of strikes on a consistent basis in Double-A. That's a lot to ask. But do you go, screw it. You got the stuff. Here's the ball in the 9th inning. Let's go. I think that's probably too much to ask on day one.
Yeah.
Because I think Teodo's going to make I think he's going to make the team because his stuff is so good. And really, your depth in your rotation is good. You have 5 veteran guys. If you want to say Bradford's a veteran guy because he pitched last year, then you'll have, if you're healthy, and I'm not expecting you will be, but if you're healthy, you have Rocker and Leiter and some other guys that are going to be in AAA to start the year. You'll probably have an injury, and probably one of those guys will be in the rotation to start the year. But let's just say you're completely healthy. I have some depth there. I have also Dane Dunning, who is going to be like a swing guy, too, who we know can start games. So I have depth in my rotation. Would I just say, look, Teodo right now, we're screwed with great stuff in the 9th inning. We have some good stuff in the 7th and 8th inning. Do I just concentrate on making Teodo the next Neftali Feliz?
Because then what's the...
Yes.
And because is another option John Gray? Is that even considered?
I think you should think about that if you're the Rangers. But if you're because to your point, let's just say you're like, dude, we got to put Rocker in this rotation, and we don't have now. John Gray's never closed before either, and I love John Gray. I'm not sure John Gray has the attitude, mantra, mentality, whatever word you want to put on it.
He seems to, at times, have a tough time getting over things.
Yes.
Which I actually think is the same issue with potentially Jack Leiter. They're not bad. I appreciate that they care so much, but to be that position, you got to be like, screw it.
And as a starter, you get 4 to 5 days to get over it.
Yeah.
You get your time to you get your practice time, your wait time, your all that time to be like, hey, let's get our mind right because in 5 days, we're going to pitch again. As a reliever, you're not going to, you do have trouble sleeping after you screw up, whether people know that or not. If you have a bad day, whatever it is, with your spouse at work or whatever, sometimes you can have a tough time sleeping. Well, a lot of pitchers have tough time sleeping after a bad day because they kind of keep reliving those moments and going, should I have done this? What if this would have happened? And you just keep, and then finally, like a day later, you're pretty good. Closers have to have a different attitude and mentality than anybody else on the team, than anybody else. And if you're kind of not experienced at doing it, or it's really tough. How many guys are good closers than bad closers? You're like, what happened? I thought you were a good closer. Why are you not being? Why can't you do this?
Lost my confidence.
Yep. The mental part of it is so tough. I don't know. I know I'm out of time. I don't know what the Rangers are gonna do. It's
Danny Colombe.
At 1:20, I actually wanted to talk about Jacob deGrom some more. Maybe we can pick up more of this conversation as well.